Hey everybody, it is Blake.
And this is Drew.
And you're listening to the Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Controllers podcast.
Hello everybody. Welcome to episode 116 of the Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Controllers podcast. We got a really good game, in our opinion, a really good game to talk about for us. We've been wanting to talk about it for a while, but we try to do things in some semblance of order we have based on when we played it. That's as close as we can come to a rhyme or reason of why we do games in any particular order. We have a list of things we've played and stuff like that and try to work our way through it as best we can, but we've been really looking forward to talking about this game, so we're excited to get into it. But before we get into that, I'm going to bust through the social media preamble as quickly as I can. You can find us on all the social media platforms just by searching the extremely long podcast name. I'm not sure how much of it you have to type in to find us, but probably the whole thing would probably help, as annoying as that probably is. That way you can keep track of the coming and goings of the podcast. That's where I post. I'm actually really bad at social media, and so is Blake. So we try to post when we're going to record. We try to post when episodes come out. But most importantly, we post when we're going to do our Twitch streams, which we're trying to do as much as we can, which as much as we can really becomes once a week if we're lucky, because of busy lives and all the wham adult stuff we got to do instead of playing video games. But we do want people to come to our Twitch streams and hang out with us. We're doing one of our better things. We kind of like a roller coaster of games being fun or interesting to watch. But right now we're doing Dark Souls 2, which I think watching almost anybody play Dark Souls 2 is probably interesting in some way. Whether you watching our successes and then watching us wallow in our failures, which is kind of what happens. It'd be a couple of failures and a big success and a failure. But we're really enjoying doing that. Of course, with it's me, Blake, and of course our cousin / podcast editor Brian's joining us for that. This is his first run through the Souls series. We did Dark Souls 3 a while back, and now we're doing Dark Souls 2 because we're playing through the franchises backwards, eventually working our way around to Elden Ring, and who knows how long it will take us to get there.
A decade
or so. I don't know how many games it was between Dark Souls for us. When we did Dark Souls 3 first, and we worked our way back. We played some other games in between, because you don't want to go back to back Souls games, even though we did do a Souls-like and then a Souls game just now. We did Wolong Fallen Dynasty, and now we're doing Dark Souls 2.
We tried to put something in the middle that
Borderlands, the horrible Borderlands 3. But anyway, like to come to our streams. We like people to show up, talk about video games and just other nerdy stuff. We're just three nerdy dudes that love talking about video games and stuff like that. You can follow us on twitch.tv/Two Smoking Controllers. Follow us there to get notified whenever we go live, or follow us on social media, and I'll try to post the day before or the day of, or right about an hour before we go live, so you can come hang out with us on there. Lastly, we have a store and a Patreon page. The store just has all the little goodies that I've slapped our logo onto across the years we've had the podcast, including the new art and any stuff like that. Any of the guest... Did I do guest art? Am I too lazy? I don't think I ever did guest art. I probably should do guest art at some point, but the problem is slapping different arts on stuff is sometimes more difficult than you would think it would be. Anyway, but you can do a store or Patreon page just to support the podcast if you like what we're doing. We really appreciate that. We love to, most of that money we go to just buying new art, and someday we'd love to scoot a few bucks Brian's way for editing the podcast, because editing does take time out of his days away from playing games or spending time with his family and stuff too. So we'd love to do that if we make even a smidgen of money on Patreon. But that's all I got there. Links to everything that I just talked about can be found in the show notes for every episode. If you want to type in our long name, all your little internet things, just go there and click on all the links, give us a follow, give us a shout out. recommend a game you'd like us to play. We'd like to try to do some more different kinds of... I've been trying to talk Blake into doing different kinds of streams and stuff like that. Maybe me too. It depends on what we got doing. I always have in my head of having Blake doing Magic the Gathering streams, and I've planted a seed in my own brain where I thought about doing eventually, if I imagine Sekiro will hit Game Pass at some point because they now own it through Activision. So I'm wondering, I might do like a blind playthrough streams of Sekiro at some point, because it's the one Souls game that we, not counting Elden Ring, we haven't played it yet, but Sekiro is the one pure Souls game that we haven't completed because the game's too scary. Because there's no multiplayer. Me and Blake use multiplayer as a crutch to get through the Souls series, and Brian as well now too. With all that said, I will stop gabbing for now and let Blake intro this game. I don't know how good the podcast will be, but keep in mind what Lee was saying. We really, really enjoyed this game. We really, it's a developer we've talked about before. We enjoyed their previous. Well, there's actually a game in between the last one we talked about. One of their second game that didn't do so well, I think Blake might mention, and then this is their third game that we're really, really into, and just really like it. So I'm going to let Blake get into that so we can talk about this game.
What game are we talking about? I'm kidding. All right. So the game we're talking about is called Miasma Chronicles. Intro music. It originally came out May 23rd, 2023, and it is the latest game by developer The Bearded Ladies. You may recognize their name from episode 42, where we tackled Mutant Year Zero. So far they've done 6 games. We have Miasma Chronicles being their latest, and then they did Mutant Year Zero. They had 3 other ones rather. One called Pipe Madness, which is like a mobile-only little connect the pipes.
I think you talked about that last time, yeah.
And then something called
is that like the mini game in BioShock?
Yeah, kind of like that. Then they have one called Land It Bandit, which is like a aerial combat simulator.
I bet they're more proud of that name than anything.
Yeah, and it's Land It IT and then Bandit IT Bandit. So it's pretty funny. And then they did a PSP game called Legend of Robot. Which I couldn't really find much about that without, I don't know, like, this isn't that podcast, but
we have the PlayStation TV. I wonder if
we can look into it later, see if it
is
exists.
it only on PSP?
Mm-hmm. Called Legend of Robot. It's also called Legend of Robo 7. So I think the 7 is a T, because depending on which way you looked at it. They also have another game that came out between Mutant Year Zero and Miasma Chronicles called Corruption 2029, but it came out only on Windows, and when it came out, I'm guessing it just didn't do well, because a lot of the reviews that I looked into it on to figure out why it hadn't made it to consoles people said that it was boring, and there wasn't any sort of personality.
This was boring?
No, Corruption.
Oh, Corruption. Okay, that's the one we hadn't played.
No, yeah, Corruption 2029, which was their in-between Mutant Year Zero and Miasma. A lot of the reviews said that it was hollow, it had no personality, boring set pieces, and that the only thing that had any redeeming factor was the fact that the combat was exceptional and robust. But any time I looked at the review, they're like, if you've played Mutant Year Zero, then yeah, sure, you can go play Corruption 2099. If you've never played Mutant Year Zero, you're better off playing Mutant Year Zero. So I don't know, and I think maybe it hurt them because they didn't even bother porting it to other consoles. It's only on Windows and Steam. It's the only way you can play Corruption.
Yeah.
But maybe they learned from their mistake, because then that came out in 2020. 3 years later, they popped out Miasma Chronicles, and that came out on Windows, PS5, and Series XS. Though it is, hold on, I have a quote here. They're still currently working on the port for the PS5, because here's a quote for the PS5 is that it lacks polish in a few areas and experienced many bugs on the PS5 version, which has soured the experience for people. I'm not sure what those bugs are, but they're usually like I said, they're a Windows mostly, computers mostly, and so from Windows to Xbox ain't hardly anything. So they must just had some difficulties not really dealing with PlayStation software. I'm not sure how dev
I
kits.
think even it's not like the PS3 360 era. Like the PS5 can't be that much. It's not like it's a special. It's another PC inside of a box. Like it's not. I don't know. It could just be the. I mean, I really know, but like people. I mean, you do read that the PS5 and stuff like that's clearly a lot easier to deal with as like the PS4 was compared to when the PS3 era. It was a whole different machine under there. I'm looking at. Sorry, I won't tell you off too far. I'm looking at
Legend of Robot.
Legend of Robot. It's like a side-scrolling little platformer thing. Okay. This is way different. I was hoping to find more
like a tactical,
more like this, more like Miasma. So they have like three. They have like they got Year Zero,
Corruption 2099,
and then this one seem like the same kind of style. This other game looks like I'm not gonna hunt this down on PSP. It's like a whole different.
That's fine. I didn't. Like I said, I didn't do too much research into it.
Yeah, it's a little cartoony side scroller. No interest.
All right. The crazy thing about this, as far as I could tell, like because smaller studios are difficult to find, as far as I can tell, 7 people made this. That's it. Now with Mutant Year Zero was 5. They hired 2 extra people between there and then, but 7 people made this game, which is kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, I hope if you had started this podcast, at least go look before we get to talking about it and stuff like that. I would have had in the show notes where you can click on the name of the game, and I will have linked a YouTube video of some sort of gameplay so you can see what this game looks like. There's not a lot of games with 5 or 7 developers that look like this game does, and we might have raved about this on Mutant Year Zero too. The overall fidelity, overall fidelity of the game is really high for an extremely small studio.
Mutant Year Zero had a different art style. It was like chibi and anthropomorphized. Yeah, so it's a little more cartoony.
This like this.
Well, this looks more real, more like what's what I'm looking for, more proportional to like real people. They weren't like huge heads. I wrote
realistic, high quality graphics, dense, detailed environments. I mean, we'll say I'm going to say it too much. The game looks incredible, like compared to. I mean, there's not. It's crazy the age we're in. Every game should be gorgeous, and they're really not. Even when you got small studios, like I just don't know what magic this developer knows. Because there's no way they have a lot of money to and good graphics cost money. That's why. The Last of Us and stuff like that look so good because they have the entire backing of Sony and stuff like that. So to make games look really good, you have to have a lot of money, and there's no way this developer has a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I don't know what wizardry they're doing.
I can maybe talk on that just a little bit. See the engine. It's a good engine. It's the Unreal 4 engine at the time.
Yeah. 5's out now.
And they use it well. It's very good.
They don't even have any pop-in, hardly, their game. I don't think their game has any pop-in that I've never seen.
I think they're pre-rendered, because like the world's not pre-rendered, but it's just like, here's the world, because it's, which I'm looking for, it's walled off very distinctly, like you can't go this way. So it's not like, they render like this, it's almost like a, like I want to think of it as like Star Wars or watching like Ultraman and stuff. Like it's a miniature world. It's a little playground in this area.
Yeah.
And so they render everything in that area, and you're like, cool. Yeah. Because it only loads when you leave and come back to the areas. So it loads everything there, because it only focuses on there. So it's like a mini open world, I guess.
Yeah, sort of. But yeah, I think you can definitely tell it's an Unreal game, but they're really, really using the power of it, I think, power of Unreal to
and they really
get the most out of it.
Dig into the graphics and stuff. Now, as far as publisher, people who gave them money, it's a company called 505 Games, and so they're pretty big, and they've done quite a few things, especially recently. They're responsible for. I'm gonna name some older games and then some newer games.
Again, this is publisher, so this is money people.
Yeah, these are just games that they've helped publish. So they've helped supported a bunch of people. You and I both really enjoyed it back in the day. Magna Carta on the PS2.
Really old. Yeah. You reach way back in there.
Well, they also did Wild Arms 4.
Okay.
More recently, Abzu.
Yeah.
The Brothers Tale of Two Sons, Terraria, Adrift, Virginia. Some of those we've played, some we haven't. Dead by Daylight and Control, like those both those games look. Well, Control looks a little better than Dead. Yeah.
Publisher has nothing to do with what a game looks
But they
like.
help fund the money though. Yeah. That helps. But the biggest thing is most recently, like their biggest success most recently was they helped publish the Death Stranding.
Oh yeah, that wasn't just a Sony thing.
This is they helped publish it, so I'm not sure what they had to do with it. But 505 Games is
been around for a long time.
Yeah, they have that list was crazy, and the fact that they've also developed games too, but I only did stuff that they published just to kind of give people a taste that they're not. They might be evil, who knows? But like they've helped create and people's favorite games. With that being said, I think our first thing to do is maybe go ahead and dive into like we spoke about the graphics, and it's Unreal and it's gorgeous and all that stuff, so that's good. We want to talk about the gameplay, what type of game it is.
So I wrote the type of game. It's a third-person, isometric, post-apocalyptic, turn-based stealth strategy RPG.
I just wrote tactical RPG.
So my description is much better than yours.
Yes, but mine's just as accurate. It's a tactical.
There is a difficulty setting, which I'll bring up again based on the achievements I got in the game, because I did not get the 1K because there are 2 difficulty achievements. I played on, you have 2 types of difficulty, if I remember correctly. I played on narrative I wrote narrative, light tactical.
That's probably what I did too.
Narrative light tactical, because we're not trying to get our butts kicked. I'm not sure if this is the kind of game I'd want to go back and play. I've thought about, like I mentioned, like this is not. I'm not going to trough. I'm going on that small tangent. I've thought about like going back and playing Last of Us 1 and 2 on like the highest difficulty to experience those games. I don't know if this is something I'd want to go play. Now, I think this has an Iron Man mode, so like where you like die and that's like you'd have to start over areas. I don't remember exactly how it has, but it has much higher difficulties, and I wonder if the way we played, which we'll talk about, the way we played it will even apply to a higher difficulty or not, if you're even allowed to play the way we played.
Well, it might affect damage, and it might affect how easily you're noticed or something like that.
Maybe
because you can get really close to some people sometimes, and like edging the border
of the combat.
Yes, the border of combat. Mm-hmm. For those who remember what we spoke about in Mutant Year Zero, it's literally the exact same gameplay.
Yeah.
Which is incredible, amazing combat gameplay.
It's really, we got to get more, being hyperbolic about it. Like
it's killer gameplay.
Yeah, it is awesome. It is, so it's kind of crazy how it plays, because it does two things. There is like pre-combat stealth, which you can end combat before it starts with stealth, which is super fun. And then what's fun about that is that even if you fail at stealth and end up going into actual combat, the actual combat's so fun anyway that you don't even really feel bad for failing the stealth.
No.
Because the regular combat's so fun. It's quite reminiscent of XCOM.
Yes.
XCOM does not have pre-battle stealth. This has outside of battle stealth, which is really cool. What that means is, we got to talk about characters here for too long, but what that means is before combat, enemies are walking around the map, and they have vision that can see so far, and you can see the area in which you're into. You get
their
into
cone of sight.
They're kind of cone of vision, and you can kind of, as long as you stay outside of it, you can get a preemptive strike. What's even cooler than that is that certain characters will have weapons, and then eventually we'll talk about the certain skills. Is if your weapon is silenced, or the skill you used is silenced, and you kill somebody outside of combat with a silenced weapon, the combat doesn't initiate, but you win anyway.
Yeah,
like it's like you win before combat starts with silenced weapons, and there's a silenced skill. I think there's 2 or 3 silenced weapons. Maybe 3. There's not that many silenced weapons because you can play 3 character. It's like 6 characters if you got a 3 character party.
1, 2, 3. There's 5 characters.
Yeah, but you get a 3 character party, so you really only need the main character. He's the one who gets a silent skill, and you give your other 2 silenced weapons to your other 2 characters. Is basically how I played. I'm sure maybe it's how you leaned into playing too. We picked the main character and like the 2 obvious choices to play as because they're awesome, and the other 2 characters we feel like were like added on, like kind of like here they are too kind of characters.
Yeah,
I didn't even bother using them.
I'm not sure if the game makes you.
No, I don't think so. There's one part where one's taken out of your party temporarily when he's shut down, but we're not talking about. So, but so the fun part for us, and like Blake don't even like stealth games. This isn't necessarily a stealth game, but you can play a huge chunk of this game, combat wise, through stealth. You can just about what do you think? 90% of combat can be completed. Maybe 90, 85, 90% can be completed. Not counting bosses can be probably.
I've taken out. Well, I don't know if they're like story bosses, but like side quest bosses. I've taken out bosses before their turn, just because I was able to get everyone in a position, and like.
Yes, because what the silence does, if you hit somebody with a silence weapon and they don't die, your next person can then also shoot a silence. Because your first shot didn't trigger any noise, so you can actually two people can hit a stronger thing and kill it quietly, and nobody will ever know what happened.
No, it's
so fun.
It's
so freaking fun.
It's incredible how well you can trigger stuff, and then like you said, even because like the skills are, it's designed in such a way that the skills, everything builds on itself, and like you said, unlike there is a. Miasma Chronicles is definitely more difficult than Mutant Year Zero. I'll say that from the get-go.
Think so?
Because Mutant Year Zero, you start with a silence weapon.
I think you get one pretty quick here, don't you?
You get one. But like in Mutant...
Oh, you don't start with that character right away.
Exactly, yeah. But in Mutant Year Zero, like you had 3 silent weapons before... You're even 25% down with the game. This one, you struggle and you only...
I'm going to say you don't even struggle.
You don't struggle, but you don't get a third silence. So you get 1, 2, 3, and they're distinctly like... You don't... These are rewards.
Yeah.
And because you don't get another one for... Like, one of your characters has a silent skill.
And so the other is a sniper rifle and then an assault rifle. Which we need to probably get to characters pretty soon, but those are the 3 characters. Now, granted, that sniper rifle and that assault rifle can be used by anybody.
Yes,
but I think there's one particular character who has like sniper skills. So it's obvious, like you give her the sniper rifle.
Yeah,
I think the other character has Balmati. I don't want to say character names right now; it'd be too confusing. Does she have sniper skills as well?
I didn't use her enough to know.
We didn't use her, and there's a secondary robot we didn't use. But both of the ones we have had skills tied to their weapons. So my main character has a skill he can use that stuns. The guy with had like maybe assault rifle or attacking type skills. The most important thing was the sniper has a skill where she kills somebody, she gets to go again.
Yes,
It's ridiculous.
It's amazing.
It's ridiculous. Like,
not only okay. So let's go ahead and name the characters real quick, and then we can dive into some stuff.
We'll start with the obvious. His name is silly, but there's a thing about it. Do you write down what they say about his name later? Remember, there's a cut scene or a talk scene talking about where his name comes from.
He was named after an ancient king of rebellion.
Yeah. So you got something to say before I say the main character?
Well, I did want to say, we're talking about all this. The game is, as far as I can remember, 100% voice acted, too.
I think so.
It was
very well, I would say.
And I can kind of give just very briefly, because it's all, as we get into them, I'll name the voice actor and a few things that they did.
So we'll start with the main character, Elvis. Said named by a...
He was named for a former king of rebellion.
Yeah.
Because we should preface this. The whole game... this is actually kind of cool because originally Mutant Year Zero was based in and around like Swedish like areas and cities and stuff like that, and they felt that some of the references were missed out on them.
This is a Swedish company?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when they made, they wanted Miasma Chronicles to be more accessible on a worldwide scale, so they based it in a post-apocalyptic United States, to the point the game starts in Kentucky in a post-apocalyptic.
It's not like there's like landmarks. Everything's destroyed.
Yeah, but they wanted to have it more accessible by saying the United States because it just made it easier to describe things. As weird as it is, people know certain key places about America.
Because America's so full of itself, that's all we ever talk about.
True.
Anyway, Elvis, the main character. I want to say all your character. I'll say Lee would say he's a human, but like all your characters are human except for his best friend,
his older brother.
older brother, best friend guy. We'll talk about him in just a second. Elvis it's not terribly relevant to the story, but he is a mechanic. Like in the main town, he's not kind of known for being a mechanic. That is not relevant once you start moving through the game. He starts with, he mostly uses the assault rifles and this bounce gun, which is pretty cool. A gun
the ricochet.
It bounces, like you can literally bounce it off. Like apparently it if you bounce the bullet off of something first, it increases the critical chance. So it's like you bounce it, it bounces off and crit somebody, like murder somebody. It is not silent because it makes too much noise when it shoots, and when it bounces, it makes too much noise. He gets, I'll talk about a bit. He gets editor powers. Editor is like pretty much, they're kind of like magicians, like mages, sort of. Except it's like technology, like technomancers, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably right. Technomancers. More of editors are a story thing. There's not very many editors. There's like him and this other chick, and there's like, do you even see another editor really?
Not really, no.
Yeah, they're all like died out or something like that. I think because there's people who were killing them. So he gets editor powers, which I didn't use that much, only because I did occasionally, but I didn't use them that much only because of the amount of stealth that I use, and there's no quiet editor powers except for I think the silent stun.
The shock glove, or shock.
Is that an editor power?
That's just the glove itself.
The glove itself. So he doesn't start with that. Weirdly enough, you have to like
he upgrades to it
or something like that.
No, you get once you unlock your editor powers, because you spent the whole thing. As part of your mechanic thing is fixing your glove and making it work.
Trying to get your glove.
And like the end part of part 1 is you get your glove working and you break through to the next part of the story. And at that point on, he has access to his glove. He has it working and he can shock it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. You want to talk about Diggs?
Good old.
Talk about somebody who says the game ain't got no personality. Diggs is enough personality for the whole game.
Diggs is great. Diggs is a breath of fresh air. And he's fun. He speaks his mind, and he is, by Elvis's count, he is Elvis's older brother. Yeah. He was a robot that malfunctioned into becoming self-aware, and we'll talk about her briefly. But Elvis's mother at the time didn't fix the error. She let him learn and become self-aware, and he's the only robot. There's other robots like him in your opening town that are mining robots and shopkeepers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're just robots.
Yeah, but he didn't even acknowledge them as like his kin. He was like, "Oh, look at that dumb robot," because he's just self-aware. I forget. It's strange.
Oh, we didn't talk about Elvis's voice actor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my bad. Elvis's voice actor is a gentleman named Daniel Merriman. And he's done 72 voice acting jobs and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, I haven't really heard of a lot of them. But one thing I thought was big enough, definitely worth speaking about, is in League of Legends, he's one of these characters called Ezreal. Okay. Which people who play League of Legends might know who Ezreal is, but he's played every rendition of Ezreal, including everything. But some of his other stuff I didn't really recognize. And he is, like Drew said, mostly assault rifles and the ability of an editor, which allows him to do the shot glove and the bounce gun and a couple other things. And now for Diggs, his older brother. What's up? Diggs, his older brother, is voiced by Byron Mark Newsom. He has done 48 things. Some of his things are a little bigger, but I picked 2 of his things just because they're more relevant and a little newer. But he's the voice of someone named Dane in Horizon Forbidden West. He had a whole quest line and some stuff. And in Fallout 4, he's a character named Tinker Tom.
It's so long since I played Fallout 4. Everybody's playing Fallout 4 now because of the TV show. Oh, yeah. So.
But he has a couple of skills. He has 2 really kind of cool ones. He tends to be your shotgun user. Like, he's your bombacious shotgun user, but he has a really cool ability, though it is not silent.
Not at all.
But if you are far enough away from enemies, it's quiet, but it's not silent. You can hit them and
it's not quiet at all. You just have to be far enough away from enemies.
Yeah. But he has a tackle.
Yeah, which I'm pretty sure there was a version of this in Mutant Year. Was it
Boar.
Jump?
No, Boar had a tackle. The Boar had a tackle.
The tackle is dope because of environmental damage and stuff like that. Diggs will run through certain things in the environment. It's really cool looking because we might have mentioned it in the first game well, they're not really related, but the environmental damage, because how the game looks really cool. Like you can blow out walls of certain buildings and stuff like that, including the boar character, I don't remember his name, and Diggs will like go through a wall to tackle somebody, or tackle somebody like through a wall.
It's awesome,
and it looks really
cool.
It looks really cool.
It looks cool every time.
Yeah. And he says some snarky remark and then like lays somebody down. What's cool about it, I think you're probably getting to what's cool about tackle, is that it obviously knocks somebody down and they lose a turn.
Yeah,
trying to recover, getting back up from getting tackled.
But
by a robot.
The additional thing for that is if he's using a shotgun, you can tackle him, and when he tackles him, he takes a step back, so he's on the next square, and so while they're on the ground, he gets. Because part of his saying is if he's tackled somebody and they're knocked down, or if the character is knocked down, I think he tackles them. But if the character is knocked down, he gets like a plus 15% crit chance to his damage. And so if you're point blank with somebody and you tackle them, you can usually hit them and then blast them with your shotgun. Because how the game works is you're given 2 action points a turn, where you can move and use a skill or use a skill twice. And the cool thing about run or tackle is it does let you sprint across the thing. Across the map, your battlefield, and so it allows him to cover space without wasting a turn moving. So he could hit him, tackle him, knock him down, blast him with a shotgun. Yeah, and there's
nobody that survives that.
No, not usually. Not like even certain bosses, because like smaller bosses you can knock down, you can mollywop.
There's not any like super strong like late game. There's not any like. There's like pumped up versions of enemies you'll fight, and a tackle shotgun blast. I mean, that's just.
Well, there are bigger enemies that he'll bounce off of.
Oh yeah,
if you don't pay.
Steel tackle still does damage.
Oh yeah,
and then your shotgun also has a closer. I think the closer you are, the higher the crit is. And he also has shot. I'm pretty sure he has shotgun passive skills.
Oh yeah,
like it all builds into like a really fun bit of momentum. And that's what I was just saying. If stealth fails, then
it's gung-ho.
Tackling starts.
And speaking of like him using shotguns. We should have mentioned this earlier too when we got into it. There's weapon customization. You pick up weapons and you pick up weapon upgrades that you can then freely drag and drop. And I don't think you have to go to Workbench or anything. I think you can do it right there in your menu. Where like if you have a scope or an extended magazine, and you can pop them in between your assault rifles, and because I think each weapon type has a set of the upgrades that you can do, and you just pop through. Mm-hmm. And you just keep taking your really good upgrades and attaching them onto your better guns and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So you have all that plus your passive skills and your active skills that increase everything. So you can create these just tyrannical monsters essentially. Yeah. But one other cool thing, because of his active thing, and he's a giant robot.
Yeah.
He's a larger,
set 8-9 feet tall, 8 feet tall maybe. He's like a foot taller than Elvis maybe.
He's a large robot. I'll say that. Not giant. He's a large robot. He'd have to duck going through most doorways and maybe turn sideways. That's not because he's fat. It's because he's muscular. There's a difference in his body type than ours. But with combat, you have it's similar to that of like XCOM. It does have like cover base. Mm-hmm. You know, you have 100% cover, 50% cover, and no cover at all. And that also increases your chances of getting hit, this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. But Diggs has an ability where he can act as cover.
Yeah.
If you
I never used it.
I used it occasionally. I had
There's so much cover in the game that I kind of didn't. I don't think I ever even bothered even learn. I might have went around the skill, or I might have learned the skill because I needed the skill after that skill or something.
Or just because I'm like, because you get skill points as you level up, and just like being able to freely customize your weapons on the go, you can customize your skills freely at any point in time. Mm-hmm. You don't have to like pay to have them respect. You just do and just kind of pick whatever you want on the go. And sometimes I was just like, you know what, I'm going to just buy this skill just cause. You know, why wait? You know, waste my ability points. I'm going to get this skill. I might use it. Mm-hmm. And he just. Like I said, devastation.
Yeah, he rocks.
Diggs is great, and
it's pretty much Elvis and Diggs are on my party the entire game. I think you said.
From what I could tell, I think they're fixed. To a certain, Elvis is definitely fixed. Diggs is fixed to a certain point where he's taken out temporarily due to the story. but then he comes back and he stays on too.
Yeah.
Because they're
And when you look at the skills, because there's one more character, the third character we'll get to here in just a moment, but there's two more characters, like you said, who join later, and they're just far less interesting than what you already have going on, honestly. I bet they're probably good in their own way, but when you look at their skills and what you already got going on with your other characters, it's just like, I don't need this.
Yeah.
You know?
And do you want me to take the next one, or do you want to take it?
Well, we got a couple other things before we get to her, I guess. We don't get to her right away. We'll say sometimes you have little hub areas where you get like various little side quests and stuff like that. Then you kind of, once you're done with an area of the game, you kind of move on to the next area, and there's a little spot where you kind of hang out and kind of move on to the next spot. There's a lot of moving forward. You don't really hang out too many places too often.
You don't really go back very often either.
And you don't really go back. You do later go back, because I was looking for side quests just kind of pop. If you look at the thing, if you look at your little world map, it's like there's a quest here. Like,
it does give you a little exclamation point that side quest is, which is really good. I like it. It tells you every time you hit a story beat, it'll tell you. So check the
first little town here, I guess, would be sedentary. There's a lot of characters here. Like, there's nobody really terribly important. You do learn about, like, this is where Elvis is from. His mom, Bob Marty, is one of the other characters we'll talk about. She's got a lot of story significance and stuff like that. It's a bit of a spoiler. I've got spoiler warning for this game for sure, because as far as you know right now, Bob Marty's probably gone or dead. You're not supposed to know I spoiled that she's alive before saying we don't know if she's alive.
The whole point of the story is he's looking for her.
Yeah. Of course, until you find her, and then that's not the point of the story no more. Ironically, the other kind of character you get is in town too.
But you don't meet
you get him. You get him. No, you don't. You meet him right away.
Oh, that's true.
Jebediah Mason, who is the mayor of this town. Another strange thing, he's literally a head in a jar, like Futurama style. Just like hangs out in the mayor's office, and he has these little robot arms and stuff like that, and he hollers at you and just does his little thing and tells you to go. I think he gives you some, like, the main quest to go do some other stuff. He's just like a thing. But eventually he does become another character where he attaches his head to like another robot, and you're like, oh cool, another robot character. But he's like I remember I never used him at all. I don't think I ever put him in. I used Bob Marty one time in combat, I think.
Just to try.
Just to see. And then they got Jebediah, and I was just like, it's just, I don't need, and you get him so much later in the game because he disappears. Things go south here in this place. We're not going to go with all the story, but things go south here, and he runs off because he like betrays the town and like runs off. Mm-hmm. And you find him later, like, you know, living the high life, and it was some stuff he stole.
He's not living the high life.
No, he got screwed. He got karma got him back. But anyway, he ends up joining you there. This is not necessary for this guy to join you. He doesn't have enough story significance. I get Bob Marty joining your team.
Yeah.
I've been fine with just the three characters, obviously.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's no point in anybody else in the town. There's, like I said, little side quests, a bunch of random people, side quests. You do learn that you probably, up until before you got to the town, there's a little, like, kind of a tutorial area you run through, and you get some combat and stuff like that. You do get your archive, which tells you about places. Mm-hmm. It's voiced. Yeah. Which is awesome. I love a voice.
It's not entirely voiced. Well, some of it is, some of it ain't.
The voiced archive is pretty cool. And you've been picking up plastic for a while, like little nips of plastic. I'm like a trash guy. What's going on? When you get to sedentary, there's shops, and you learn that that's the currency of this post-apocalyptic world is plastic. So all this plastic you've been gathering for the whole first hour and a half of the game finally has a purpose, as you can buy various items and weapon upgrades and just anything like that by collecting plastic. I thought having plastic as currency was funny.
Oh yeah,
kind of interesting.
Well, they kind of, let me see if I have it here. Was one not the game designer, but he was like part of the game director for Bearded Ladies, a gentleman named Lee Varley. He wanted to explore the concept of a world that trusted large corporations and eccentric billionaires to solve their problems, and then have them fail in every respect. That's the point. That's like the backdrop for the game is big corporation. Yeah, we love big corporations. And they're like, don't worry, guys, we'll lead y'all to the promised land. And they just, nope, screw you guys, us before y'all.
Oh, yeah. Big surprise.
And they, it addresses other themes like climate change, surrendering civil rights, and wage slavery. People being subject to just, they can't go anywhere because they're indebted to these people, and they have to work for him for the rest of their life.
Yeah. A couple of other things. Like I say, you get various quests and stuff like that. So you do end up getting, there's one more area that you kind of run through before we get to the next character. If you remember the Gator Zone, mm-hmm. which is a pretty cool looking, it's a swamp theme park. There's a bunch of things you learn here. There's gameplay things you learn here. Also, you meet she's sort of important, but then not important because what happens to her is Baxter is Elvis's his best friend. Growing up with her, you think she's going to be a love interest for the story. Yeah. She gets boiled alive. Spoilers.
Just a little bit.
She gets a little bit boiled alive. You don't talk to her for very long. You talk to her, meet her, then like another, I don't think it happens here. I may jump ahead, but you go to like, oh no, Baxter's missing. You go to try to save her. And I mean, that's cool. Like I love you get there too late. She's already been killed. They eat her, boil her alive and eat her, which is pretty freaking dark and cool.
The game, for the humor that it has, you're like, oh yeah, it's like a post-apocalyptic world. And you got Diggs putting out all these really good one-liners and stuff, and Elvis, and just what do you call it? I guess like third-person irony when they talk about certain things, like, oh, we don't know what this is, but ancients must have worshipped this cathedral of something, and you find out you're like, oh, it's just like a movie theater. It's nothing really that big, but like from like the fact that his name's Elvis and he was supposedly named after an ancient rebellious king, and you're like, he's still the king of rock and roll, but he was rebellious, sort of, But it's just kind of like there's some third person irony humor there.
Yeah.
But then it gets really dark, like the girl getting boiled alive, and then there's other things that happen throughout.
Yeah, still very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout the Gator Zone, I said we won't go over every area, but here's where you start. You'll probably level up for the first time. You'll get to your skill trees, guns, and consumables. Forgot to mention power cores, which are like augments to your character themselves, and then like you already mentioned, weapon mods. You'll start finding all that kind of stuff here. You'll see your first miasma vortex. Miasma is like this crazy poison stuff that's like taking over the world. Apparently editors can manipulate miasma, which you kind of already learned. That's kind of a thing that's happening that Elvis can do with his editor glove. When you absorb a miasma vortex, you get a new miasma power, which I didn't write them down because I wasn't really using them. There's a couple of cool ones. The thing is, they're loud.
Yeah, I rarely went loud unless I was going against the boss fight, and even then I did everything.
Maybe find a podcast for somebody who played a loud version. You also will start finding chips, which augment your miasma powers, which can be kind of cool. Make them cost. They have a heavy cost sometimes too, so that augments their cost and then damage and stuff like that. The miasma powers are cool. They're very cool. They look very cool, including like throwing. You can pick up and throw explosive barrels at people,
or pick up them and throw them into the explosive.
Maybe it's that way. Is it that we throw them into the explosive barrel? Very cool, very loud, but cool. Anything to add there?
Oh, well, kind of in talking about combat. This is again another quote from one of the game directors, the Lee Varley, is that because he was the game director for Mutant Year Zero, he was not the game director for this.
Yeah.
But he talked about that they purposely had made Mutant Year Zero more difficult by allowing there not really being RNG. Because remember how we were trying to save scum.
It won't let you
unless you do something completely different, like move somewhere else, and then it had a different outcome.
Yeah, it's tricky.
But you had ways around it. But for the most part, like if you were going to miss that turn, you were going to miss. No, period. It was already preset unless you kind of like reworked. You had to like reload in between turns. So they said they specifically made Mutant Year Zero more difficult, and they decided to bring that. Tone that back down a little bit so you can adjust the difficulty in this. They wanted to make it more accessible for people who haven't played before. And so they said that, some people struggled with the combat, and so they tried to make this a little easier and not as a frustrating as experience compared to Mutant Year Zero. They rebalanced the stealth elements so that when you can snipe people outside combat was now what's what I'm looking for was now important. But it was not mandatory like it was in Mutant Year Zero. Like you had to play.
Remember like Mutant Year Zero, like I said, when the combat lights up in this game, you can kind of handle it.
Yeah.
Do I remember correctly that combat can go pretty south in Mutant Year Zero? Your characters aren't as robust as these characters are. If I'm thinking back, it's been years since we played Mutant Year Zero, but I feel like stealth was really important in the first game.
Yeah, and right here it says. To reduce player frustration over missed shots, the Bearded Ladies experimented with scaling the damage done instead of an all-or-nothing system based on percentages. After being unsatisfied with the lack of spontaneity, they decided that to resolve the difficulty issue and reduce the effects of random chances, all shots had a 100% chance of success. Now, whether they're crit chance and stuff like that was still percentage, but no matter what, your shots hit. Because they wanted to just have people have more fun.
Yeah. Is that how this is? I don't remember.
Yeah, it says right here, it says to reduce the effects of random chance and make shots all 100% certainty. I don't even remember, like I would reload because I messed up a stealth thing, but I don't ever remember like missing a shot or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think that it's kind of cool that they rebalanced it to make it more fun for everybody, and I loved it. I absolutely love this game,
Yeah.
You want to talk about our next person?
Yeah, so she will join at the next area file. I know we've been dancing around her for a while. The next place is called, next place is actually called because every area has a name and it kind of flashes across your screen. They're usually a little set piece of some sort. So we won't go into all. The next place is called the Skywell, which the most important thing here is your new character joins here. This is just a big old plane crash. In all these places you're just moving through to get to the next place. But if you want to talk about Jade joins you here, and she's not so friendly.
She's not friendly. She is
you actually see her.
She's in town.
But she won't talk. Sedentary, but she won't really talk to you. She kind of like has a snide remark.
She's like, "Get away from me, noob."
Or something.
She's like, "You're just a mechanic. Get your robot away from me." She's kind of snarky and mean.
Yeah.
But she grows on you, and you grow on her because she's awesome. I can forgive a snooty personality when they can back it up with badassery.
Because she starts. I think she starts.
She's the first person with your first silence weapon.
So she starts with the silent.
She starts with the silent sniper rifle.
Yeah.
And then immediately, that skill she gets is like one of the last things you get down but you want to beeline towards it.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, is if she kills somebody with the sniper shot, she has to kill somebody without being alerted. Yeah. And then she has other skills that if she is, because you can. We didn't mention this earlier because how you trigger combat is you can move your people as a group, but then I think you click in the left or right stick.
Left stick, I think.
And you can split up. You can have a single person step off away from the party, and you can maneuver them to a specific spot, and then rotate over to another character, split them off, and so you can like triangulate, have with line of sight on a specific enemy, and then that's when you can everyone snipe that dude and murk him.
Yep.
And you can pick it off like 3-on-1 all the way through. And if everyone, like I said, Drew said earlier, if you have everyone with a silent weapon and you shoot somebody, it doesn't kill them, then the next person gets to go because they don't get to trigger.
There's no noise.
Yeah, there's no noise, and so you can just devastate. But if she kills somebody, then she gets to she gets a restored action point. Mm-hmm. But part of her other ability trees is that if she's hidden, which you can just stand up and like activate combat out in the open and not really be hidden. But if you go up to like a tree or a wall and the game will say hidden, it'll say covered, or I think it'll actually say hidden.
Yeah.
And
like
if you're hidden, then her like crit chance is like 50%. It's like plus 50% or plus 30% to her.
I think it increases too.
To
skills,
depending on if she has other skills or other augments based off like your magazine or your stock or your scope. And so she's like by the point in my game, like at the end of the game with like her skills, she had 150% chance of getting a crit. So she was guaranteed critting somebody, and usually meant she was guaranteed killing somebody. So she was usually killing 2 or 3 people a turn. But sometimes you had to move, and like, oh well, crap, I didn't position her right. But whatever. As long as I kill all these people that don't trigger combat, then I can just do better the next time.
Yeah.
Jade is voiced by probably the biggest voice actor. She is definitely a huge 245 things she's voiced in. And her name is Felicia Angeli. I watch anime, but I'm not an avid watcher, so I pick some of the popular ones because that's the only ones that I knew. So don't judge me. But two of the ones.
This isn't an anime podcast.
Yeah, 2 of the ones that I recognize some of them, but these are the ones I recognize that would be bigger that I think more people will have heard of. Yeah. The first one, she's a character in that show Overlord. What do you call it? Anyway, with the Isekai with the Overlord. Yeah. She plays a character named Shaltir, who's like one of the members of his cabinet. She's like this vampire princess who he fights and then tries to kill, but then says, no, I'm going to kill you, and they become friends again, but whatever. But another one is she's in My Hero Academia as Higakuri, the invisible girl.
Oh, really?
She's the voice actress for her.
Okay. Yeah, I remember her. We watched a bit of My Hero.
Yeah. And like she has like 245 other things. So she has a vast list of stuff to go through. And like sometimes
Pretty much if she's not like quote unquote famous, she works a lot.
She's just working constantly. I mean, some of the stuff was like, it was a movie or it was like a episode of a TV show, but the other time she was like reoccurring role for 13 episodes, 78 episodes, and ongoing. So nice. She had a nice repertoire of work.
That's huge.
But and then the character she plays here is awesome.
Yeah,
which is kind of funny because, like I said, knowing the Higakari, she's like this real loud. Because she's invisible, so she's real loud and outgoing, and she's like, yay, hey, look at me, but you can't because she's invisible. And then with Shoutir, she was kind of the same thing. She was a dour character who was trying to kill the main character, but then became like a bubbly vampire who was in love with the character, and she battled for love interest over him. But then they have Jade is just this like
quiet,
hardened, just mercenary assassin. I think she's just a mercenary.
Well, you find out who she actually is.
Yeah.
Later in the story, it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't really change it. She is somebody she is somebody important. Classic video game kind of a thing. She's actually somebody important who's running from her past. But she's cool. She's really mean for a while.
It does show like it just range for that voice actress though. She does a really good job.
I would have never guessed she's the little invisible girl from My Hero.
Yeah, it's her. Same chick.
That's fun.
Or same woman. My bad.
Yeah. Moving through the next area. Again, this place has one of the best lines in the game. Me and Mike talked about it, laughed about it over and over again. This place opens up with Diggs saying, I don't detect any life signs in the area. Because robots can do that kind of stuff, and you work through the area and you end up getting into combat.
Yeah, so it's a forced combat that you can't sneak. Oh, you can't sneak this one.
Who knows? But you get into. But you get to a fight, regular old fight, but the point is, after that fight, is it Jade or somebody yells at her, and she's like, "I thought you said there's no life signs here," and he says, I wrote this exact. "I can't do that shit. I just wanted to sound cool."
And yeah,
if you know how his voice sounds, I wish I hadn't got. I don't have the clip.
I bet you could find it.
Trying to find that particular clip anywhere in the freaking game. Yeah, you can. We got a video playing in the background. I'm trying to find that specific pot. I don't know, but it's like the voice actor nails it.
Oh, yeah.
And
like, I can't do that. I just wanted to sound cool.
Laughed so loud. I think I laughed really hard. I had to pause the game. I was laughing. It's not as funny now that we're talking about it. Obviously, you're probably not laughing.
But it just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
you're like, it's just so great, and then it's like the opening of their relationship. She doesn't like them at all, and then she just continues to doesn't like them. Yeah. But the fact that I think Drew laughed about it, and then I'm playing it like a day later, and I laughed, and I had to come in there, and Drew was like, "Oh, I just heard this part." He's like, "Did you hear the part?" I was like, "Yeah, it's just the perfect line delivery for like a really awesome spot that's like really tense too for what's going on because you're breaking into. Are you breaking into the Skywell?
It's just a crashed airplane. You're just there you're doing something for a quest. I didn't write down all that stuff. You're just there. You're going to a place. You're doing something for a quest there, and you happen to run into her. Not happen. I think she's actually looking to go with you at this point.
Because she's looking for somebody else. She's looking for who you're looking for.
Yeah.
But Jade, great character, awesome skill set.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, moving forward, I'm gonna like pinpoint things. Pretty soon, after a little while, you're going to start seeing. We should say up for a while now. The only thing you've been fighting is frog mutants.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about enemy types.
Yeah, there's a lot of different type of frog units. Apparently, through the storyline, this is a new development. Like when they start talking about these like frog clans or these frog people who they come and kidnap people and they eat people and stuff like that. So for a while, all you're fighting is these different kind of frogs. They got guns, they got staffs, they do all kinds. There's like different kind of frog units. Pretty soon you'll run into a new thing. There's two new things, maybe both in this area. You run into the tree monsters for the first time. I don't remember what they're called.
The frogmen are either called tadpoles or what they are. There's like Witch Doctor, Spawn Lord, and Scout. And as far as the tree things, there are two. They're Whisperers and Saplings.
Saplings are the little things that come out. So these are the Whisperers. saplings they're not too hard to kill. But what happens with the Whisperers is they do have enough HP a lot of times to make them it's not impossible, because I would redo things a bunch of times to silently take down a Whisperer. They have a lot of HP, but it's doable. What's even better about it, sometimes I think there was something that would set them on fire, one of your skills or something.
Well, you could throw grenades. We didn't talk about that. You could throw
can't throw grenades.
Molotovs
Those aren't quiet. There was some. I feel like there was a way. I could be. Am I wrong? Was there a way to stealthily do things and where they catch on fire, and then when if their turn initiates and they're on fire, they take fire damage first and they'll die before they trigger the actual fight.
Well, if they're far enough away, or if they were the last thing alive,
yeah, because it was easy.
Then it didn't matter.
What you'd normally do was move around them in the area, stay out of their vision, and take out all the saplings. Because saplings are a lot weaker. Mm-hmm. You'd go stealth kill all the 2 or 3, 4 saplings in the area, then work your way back down to a Whisperer and take out the Whisperer.
Yeah. That's another cool enemy type, the trees, and there's even some cool achievements. There's a specific spot you can farm it. But one of the characters, I think it might be one of your miasma abilities, is you can take control of lesser creatures, and you have to have a sapling kill a Whisperer. Kill a
Whisperer. That took some mini load again, to get it to work right. But I eventually got it as well.
And there's quite a few achievements in the game.
We can get into that now because we didn't get them all anyway. I got as much as I was going to get. I tried really hard, but it's just the main thing is there's difficulty. Yeah, achievements. Here in the same, and maybe in the same area, maybe by the end of the same area, after you do the trees, you'll run into collectors for the first time.
Those are hard.
You say yes, they can be. The game literally tells you to run from this fight, but I killed everybody.
We also play on easy. So.
We are playing on easy. I understand they're supposed to be difficult. Collectors are the ones that are sent. They're actually, when they say in the story, they're sent to the different towns, right, to collect from
from all the homage, collect the payments for the higher up people. What are they called? The elders or something.
Yeah, people don't like collectors. Are they people? I can't remember. Sorry, are they people in suits? Or were they robots?
I think they're robots.
Are they robots?
I think they're robots because you find out that the people high up, which are like, what are they called? Can't even think of the word. Wardens? No, wardens are those big robots. They're just the higher ups, the people who live literally in like a floating city that travel around and they collect money, gold specifically, because your sedentary is a gold mine. Mm-hmm. And so they're collecting gold from the village
to pay to the collector. So that, and apparently other civilizations or settlements who didn't pay, they just get
they get wiped out by the collectors, which is not how you should do business. But I guess it doesn't.
That's how anybody who
you don't kill the people who are supposed to pay you,
because then you don't get paid again at all.
You can hurt them, break a leg, or hurt their family, yes, but don't hurt them to keep them from being able to pay you. Gosh, what kind of monster are you? You want your money.
Did you run through this fight as well?
Oh, well, it took a minute because it was rough. But
there's a lot of collectors here, and you have to where you start, you have to work your way.
You had to
patiently take out one collector at a time. There's I'm thinking of the map.
It was like 7, 8,
8 to 10 maybe across this. Do you remember the map? There's a collector ships parked. I remember the map. Mm-hmm. You start over here next to this shack. And there's one up high. I forget to tell you, if you're up high, you get a critical hit bonus. Yeah. Enemies get it as well. So you got to be careful when people are above you. You want to get above too, like getting Jade to a high ground. And I think you could shoot further.
Yeah. You have less obstructions. You get a not much, but it's like one extra.
But anyway, you work across that map and you can take them out. It was pretty cool. I'm wondering if you're supposed to run from that fight.
You can run from it and come back to it later. I think that's the whole point. You can come back to old areas, so that you can come back.
I just killed them all. It's fun. Oh, yeah. This is probably I wrote going through here. This is actually where you find Baxter boiled alive. Come to find out, the frogs were looking for Elvis. They were looking for a human with a metal arm because Elvis has his glove. Mm-hmm. They're looking for a human with a metal arm. She actually had a prosthetic robot arm, so they thought she was who they were looking for. They have a boss frog. Mm-hmm. Because you killed so many frogs, so she dies because they were looking for you. Yeah, which makes it even worse.
Even worse, yeah.
Because what you find in the tub of melted, the only thing they didn't eat was her metal arm.
Yeah, the game gets dark for the amount of humans in there. It hit you.
So after that, you will fight the frog boss, which is in a big mansion. There's a bunch of frogs outside. You get up to fight him. Like I said, when you get close enough to him, his name is Troggle. Apparently, I wrote down.
Yeah,
when you
Traggle,
when you get close enough to him, you just freaking, once everybody else is dead, he's the only thing left. You just kind of put him down.
I remember that fight because he's like standing in the corner of the broke down mansion, and you can work your way to the like out of this like shopping center or this little like walking. What do you call it? Strip mall. Mm-hmm. And then walk around, kill everyone inside the mansion, upstairs and downstairs, and then have everyone post up like in the doorway right before you walk into the room and just like throw a grenade and just because you can't kill him.
Can you not? I don't know.
I don't know. But also because he was the only enemy alive, I was like, I might as well go big or go home. So I activated all my biggest, loudest skills and just obliterated him to Kingdom Come. Because it does do a cool thing is if you kill people with like explosions and stuff, they do like the ragdoll physics and they go flying through the air in slow motion.
There's certain parts of the environment that collapse and stuff like that.
It's really cool. Yeah, it's that Unreal Engine working the way it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Anything else up to this point? So I'm moving on to a new enemy type here.
I don't think so. No, because next day I think we get to like the Thievers, like the other type of humans or whatever.
I remember that. The new enemy, eventually, one of the maps you go to, you'll start running into the creepy, what are they called? The
mimics.
The actual miasma monsters that are made of miasma. They're pretty kind of like, they're very strange, but you kill them like you kill you kill them like you kill anything else because you can sneak up on them and stuff like that.
Well, because are they called mimics or are they called?
Well, mimic is a type of miasma.
Because there's specific there's a thing to you have to it's difficult, but the mimic shadows can copy a character. Mm-hmm. If you activate it, there's a thing for killing a character with the character that they copied, and so that took some like killing a copy of a copy type situation in a game.
Yeah, I think the character had to kill a copy of themselves or something like that for an achievement. I feel like. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we got it. You can do that stuff.
But they're pretty. They're like legit, like, because miasma is like people don't know a whole lot about miasma, but so actually like miasma creatures I don't think are too much of a known thing. Mm-mm. But you start running into them quite a bit. Yeah.
Well, also in this particular thing, you find out that this miasma wall you break through in the beginning was there and keeping stuff from getting in, so you never encountered miasma creatures. The only thing you had were humans and the frog mutants. Mm-hmm. And once you break through the wall to the other side,
I guess robots too.
And the robots, yeah. But once you break through to the other side, that's when you start encountering
and collectors.
Whatever, but you don't fight. You're too broken. People weren't fighting them.
Yeah, they weren't fighting back collectors.
But once you break through is when you start encountering the mutants because it's less secure on the other side.
Yeah,
more wild, open settlements and stuff like that. No one's like banded together.
So without digging too much into the story and stuff like that, we don't want to do that. It is a series of, there's the story. So you'll talk about how the story to a point for a while is Elvis is just trying to find his mom.
He's like, where's my mama?
Where's my mama? Where's my mama?
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, have you seen Bob Marty? It's her name. Her name's Bob Marty.
My mama. This, mama that.
Yeah, he's a mama's boy apparently, which is crazy when you meet her because she's a terrible person.
She's pretty bad.
Getting to that, you eventually find her. And it's when this is the moment where I don't think you can lose him for like a minute because she has a shutdown phrase. Yeah. Like Diggs gets like upset and kind of mad, and she has a word she says, and it shuts him off. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't even remember being shut off. That's the only time I think, but I don't think there's any combat. It's the only time that Diggs isn't in your party, and I don't think you get to any combat without him. Because you might get a conversation. There's a fight that happens here. But I think he's reactivated by then to get to the people who attack because she's hiding out.
She takes him down, and then. And she's like, in order to gain her trust back, or for you, because she like betrays you or whatever, right there, sort of emotionally by shutting down your older brother. In order to build trust back up with you, she lets you go through how to wake him back up because like one of his components is busted or something. So she fixes it too.
She fixes it. So you got Bob Marty's voice actor.
Crazy enough, Bob Marty is voiced by Jeannie Brown. Mm-hmm. It's the only thing she's done.
Wow.
Literally the only thing she's done. She hasn't done anything else.
That's crazy.
Yeah, which is weird because we wouldn't have.
I wonder how they picked her. What her relevance is to things.
I don't know.
Her character's
her character sucks just because she's a horrible person. Like,
Yeah,
I get why she did it, because she was doing it for the betterment of mankind and trying to make him stronger.
Yeah, well, you learn every time you learn something new about her, it's worse than the thing you knew before. Like she's like the linchpin for bad things.
Unfortunately,
it seems like she's not Elvis's real mom.
No.
She doesn't have no interest. I don't know why he's all mama, because when she talks to him, she's not nice to him at all.
No, not at all.
She's really dismissive of Diggs. I got that because Diggs isn't human. I think she's like straight dismissive of Diggs completely, like condescending to him. Straight talks crap to Elvis. Like treats him like total garbage.
So stop being such a mama's boy. We have a mission to do.
Yeah,
but I'm here to try to find you, mama. I'm not your mama. Stop calling me that. And you're like, she literally says that.
Yeah. But, I don't know when. I don't know how she. I'm guessing she maybe in the past she raised him like nicely until she got to the point where she needed
left.
to leave.
I think the thing is she left like 8-10 years prior.
Has it been that long?
I think so.
But I'm wondering. I don't remember if the story was she nice before she left, and now that she's back, she's like, I'm not playing the mama game no more. You know. Mm-hmm. So she sucks.
Yeah, I did not enjoy.
Do you remember her combat skills?
They're similar to. It's like a mix between Jade and
Elvis. She's an editor. Is she an editor, or is she still a glove? Oh, she's an old school.
She's an editor.
Oh, she's from back in the editor war.
Yeah.
So she's an old, like, I don't know how old she is, but there was like a war with editors way back when, and she was like been around for a freaking long time. Yeah, but I don't like her. She's mean. Like she's like Jade's like funny mean. Balmani's just mean,
dismissive,
apparently,
and like emotionally abusive.
She's also uppity as all hell. Like apparently, Ba is a rank. Yeah. Ba Mahdi. Her name's like Mahdi, or I don't know if it's a surname is Mahdi, but Ba is a rank. And she's like, I'm Ba Mahdi. You don't speak to me this way, and I'm Ba this, and I'm a Ba. And I'm just like,
oh yeah,
she's like, woman, calm down.
Yeah, these people don't even know who you are.
Yeah, most people have no idea. Like her rank since the editor wars, that doesn't mean anything anymore. Yeah, but like what it was, so she's just like always yelling at everybody.
How dare you speak to... She also says in the third person, she's like, how dare you say that to Ba Mahdi? Do you not know who I am? Like, she's like, says her name a lot.
She has no idea who you are.
And they're like...
Nobody knows who you are.
They're like, no, I don't know who you are. I'm just a guard. Well, go get so-and-so. I'm his superior.
That's that one town. She talks trash to the whole town.
Yeah, the whole town. Yeah, because that's like the next town you go to after you get her. And I'm just like, I can't stand this character. I do not like her. Every time you speak, because you can interact with all the people, and as soon as you talk to somebody, because even though she's not on your party, she's part of the party, so she does have dialogue with people, and she's like, tell Ba Mahdi where so and so is. How like this place is a trash heap. You don't know why isn't your gun cabinet locked up? That's not how we did it back in my day. I'm Ba Mahdi, and I was like, oh my god, I hate you. I literally just did not enjoy Ba Mahdi's character.
I wish her combat abilities outstripped her not liking her.
No, she was just a
I will use a horrible person if they're a good combat.
Yeah, but nope. Nada.
Yeah. So this whole thing...
Ba Mahdi sucks.
There's a lot of story. This is where you get a lot of story dumping. There's a big part here where she takes you to these combat challenges because you got to like prove yourself to her that you're ready for the next step of what Elvis needs in the proving grounds. So we get to this place here. I said we were dancing around the store, but there's this part here we get to the tomb of the Alpha Editor. Alpha Editor, she knows about it. She talks about it for a bit.
He's the guy who like he led the Editor rebellion against the originals.
Yeah,
the originals are the people that live in the Sky City that float around and have the collectors collect tribute for them.
Yeah. So this place is weird. So I wrote in my notes, because you go to the Alpha Editor, the tomb, and like in it, he's like, is it a statue? It's a statue.
There's statues,
and it's Elvis. Like the statues are of Elvis and stuff like that. And we're just like, and I forget there's some dialogue, and I wrote in my notes, Elvis is Jesus ?
Well, that's what essentially it kind of.
Because he like died and then reincarnates.
The Alpha Editor died, but because his connection with the miasma was so powerful, he was recreated from the miasma as a child, as a baby. And Ba Mahdi found the baby crying in like a miasma field.
Well, or so she says.
Yeah.
Or so she says here.
Yeah. And so she decided to raise the alpha editor to be the alpha editor. And that's why she abandoned you to make you stronger and all this other stuff, not realizing it was going to turn you into I got to find my mama's boy. And then once you figure all this, then he begins to hate Bahamati too, which is great because she's a horrible character and a horrible person. And then he even gets to a point where he's like, you don't speak to me ever again. And she's like, but I'll say what I want. And he like does something that shuts her down. And then she starts to like respect his rage because she keeps telling him to give in. It's like almost like the dark side of the forest. She's like, give in to the anger, and she stops calling him Elvis after a certain point. She starts calling him Alpha Editor. And she like, I don't know, like that's some emotional abuse where she's just like, she like literally stops calling you Elvis and starts calling you Alpha Editor to try to, she wants you to be like her. And she's
she wants to distance herself. Like she really cuts off this mama thing pretty
oh yeah. Like immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no disillusions, but yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean for this to turn into the hate on Bahamati podcast, but she's so awful.
She sucks.
You want to talk about some fun stuff now? Let's not talk.
We'll get to a part in the game before there's the next really big town. I wrote in the notes here, there's just other parts of the map you're running through. So up to a certain point, you can run to exploring is always, it's really cool to explore in this game because you will literally stumble into a fight, you win a fight, and way back here in the back of the fight, like parts you don't even have to go to. You'll find a fight, open a box. And what's great about this game, unlike other games we play where chests suck, you open a box and there's a gun in here that's like better than anything else. You can't
if
buy
it's not a gun, it might be an accessory.
You're always finding something cool and you're like, oh sweet, I want to use this right away. Tons of fun stuff like that. But earlier parts of the game, up until the point I'm about to talk about, you will like walk up to edges and the game stops you in some way. I forget what if it's a text where it says don't go this way right now or something stops you.
It'd be like, oh, we don't have a reason to go that way now.
Something stops you.
Or like, hey, we need to go to the town.
After this next part, it starts here. I wrote in a skeletal road. You have random exploring. The first time the game doesn't stop you. There's like this place kind of opens up. It's not huge. There's like 3 ways to go, and like the story's this way. You always know where the story is, which is great about this game. You have a thing like a GPS.
We have it. I call it a breadcrumb tracker because the first time I experienced it was in Fable 3.
Yeah,
the first time. Was it Fable 2?
Maybe Fable 2 had it. But anyway, breadcrumbs is a good way. Yeah, it's a little thing that goes across the ground. So you always know where the story is. So you can go the other ways. So there's like here you
guaranteed
can
go the opposite ways to get everything before activating the story.
So here you can go other ways and do other fights and get other items early. And there's actually what will be here eventually. What this game does really neat is that you do these fights and get these items and do other stuff in this direction. You're sent. You can be, if you go to the next town, you get sent back over here. All the enemies are dead. There's no quote unquote. There's no grinding in this game. The fights are just the fights. So when you run back, like you're sent back for an item or some random crap to run back to the area, everything's kind of dead. You kind of run.
Sometimes, if you go back to an area, sometimes there will be like a specific group or specific enemy.
If the quest spawns new people.
Yeah, sometimes the quest will spawn new people. But if you go somewhere and you kill everyone, and you go back, everyone's dead but the new enemies that are respawned. So you can clear out areas and then fully explore. It's great. There's no reason to not fully explore an area. Make sure you murk everybody. And some other more active skills. One of the other ones I forget. I think everyone can learn this. It was also available. It's available in most games like this. But the Overwatch ability, when someone moves into your line of sight, you can kill them, and that's pretty cool too because you can kill a couple of people that come running into your Overwatch site, and that's pretty cool. Kill them before they get to you, or damage them as they're running towards you. And then I've had a couple of things where I've like thrown Molotovs or blown up barrels, and there's fire, and an enemy runs through the fire, gets hurt, then triggers my Overwatch. I shoot them and kill them because they took damage from the fire or the acid. And then there's like fire, acid, and then I think there's like stun grenades, like electrical grenades where you can paralyze people.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, there's so many things you can do. Like you can do straight combat. Combat is,
you don't have to like.
But
you don't have to silent. You can run every fight and just blast people in the face
because you are fully healed after every fight
on our difficulty.
Well, on easy mode, like we played, you were fully healed after
on little baby sissy mode.
Little baby sissy mode, you're fully healed after every fight. Otherwise, like the higher difficulties, your action points don't come back, and your action points and your MP bar are static. They carry over in between fights as opposed to fully. So that made it really cool. So I could trigger a combat, use all my skills, kill someone silently, and then go to the next fight on easy, have all my skills already back. Mm-hmm. So We played on baby sissy mode, which I think that was the most fun.
Games. We balance out baby sissy mode by playing Dark Souls games.
Yes, I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly fine with admitting I like playing on baby sissy mode. What's next?
So next is, like I said, as you do all the other running around, all that fun exploring, getting cool items, fighting enemies, getting your skills up and stuff like that, seeing parts of the map you hadn't gone to yet, getting more miasma vortexes. It's all this other. It's like one of the first big times of this road where you can do all kinds of stuff before going to the next big city, which is the.
Is that Eden?
No, it's the DRC. I didn't write down. I did the acronym. I didn't write down what DRC stands for.
It's like hold on, let me double check something.
But this is, if it helps you spark your memory, this is the town that's completely ran by robots. Mm-hmm. And I wrote in here, there's this keypad room. We ain't mentioned the keypads. There's these keypads all over the game. And if you find the codes somewhere nearby and you type in the keypad, it's always treasure. Really, really cool. Like getting treasure is so fun in this game. But there is a keypad room where there is a robot that's chopping up people. And if you talk to him, he's doing that to feed people to people. Yeah. He's just there. So that's what they feed the people with, is people. I was like, Jesus Christ, it sucks. That's just what, I mean, robots don't care, they don't have they don't give a crap about humans.
I'm trying to figure out what DRC stood for, but I can't figure it out because I suck. But yeah,
I can't remember either. It stands for something. They call it the DRC. I don't know why I didn't write down.
Robot Coliseum or the District of,
I don't know.
Whatever. Robot Coalition. But yeah, that's basically just it's a big old arena.
Yeah, there's the arenas here, which I think you have to do for the story, which is just a series of fights. This is
those fights are difficult. That's the hardest thing in the game.
Are they hard? They're fun. I think it's just straight combat because there's no stealth.
It was straight combat, no stealth, but you didn't heal between the fights because it was a steady fight. No, you had to like pass your turn and stuff like that to bring your action points back. That's why it was difficult, and it spawned you in the center of the room.
Yeah, but you get high ground and things run at you, and you just like. I remember just having fun with it.
Yeah, because you just got to cut loose on it.
Yeah, you do end up with a side quest here for a guy, an actual human side quest. Do you remember Billy? I have a quote here from him, and he's.
I don't remember.
It's he's not super relevant, but he gives you a quest to go get. I forget what he needs. It's not really important, but he says something to you, and he's talking kind of trash to Elvis or whatever. And then what Elvis says to him, "You don't want to know how much blood I have on my hands." Oh, to that guy. Yeah. The guy's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, blah blah blah." And you go run and you're fetching something for him.
Yeah.
When you come back. He has killed himself before you. When you remember the guy, I don't even remember him. But when you get back from doing the quest, he's killed himself. I think I can't remember if he's hung himself or if he's like shot. I can't remember what it is. When you get back, he's dead. But it's clearly a suicide for some reason.
Oh, I think I remember that. It's make you think it's a suicide, but you can investigate further and it's not. Is that one? Because he wasn't supposed to give you the information that he gave you.
Yeah.
It's something like that. I kind of remember that. He's like the last thing you find because you're looking for these pieces, and he has like ended up having the piece like behind this false wall in his room, and he leaves you like a message on his holodeck or something.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember that. You don't want to know how much blood I have on my hands.
Yeah, that's a pretty good line. And because at this point in time, he's kind of depressed and sad and trying to be the alpha editor and realizing that his mother actually doesn't love him. Yeah. The closest thing he has to a mother doesn't actually love him and wants him to be something that he's not ready to be. And like, it's a crazy, like double identity head trauma for him. And like I said, emotional abuse.
Yeah. And before we move on to the other thing, what the main thing you're trying to do, I forget why in the DRC, is you're trying to get to Diesel D, which is like the big bad robot boss. He's in charge of the DRC. There's a couple of things you got to do to get around to getting to him, which he's a big boss fight later.
I think he has like access to
the factory. I think you're trying to get to that
factory. What do you call it? The first assembly of the first factory, something like that.
You're trying to get there for story reasons. We're not going to. One, we can't remember, and two, we don't want to get into much of the story.
Yeah.
The Terminal 5 is another part. This is an airport. I don't know what the
airport was kind of difficult. You had to sneak through.
A lot of combat here can be clear. This is two things here. I don't know the relevance to it, but I wrote down there's more than average plastic here. There's freaking plastic from the money.
Yeah.
All over this place.
Yeah.
There's tons of it. I don't know if there's any.
Well, people weren't ransacking it because the enemy types that are there. Those
Isn't that just collectors there?
Yeah, well, yeah, the collectors.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But this is also where where you trigger the Abamati telling Elvis about why his name is. That's where you learn about why his name's So
after the ancient rebel king.
the place we're talking about earlier where Balmati is terrible to everybody, it's a place called Oasis, which is right after Terminal 5. She's rude to everybody here. You go to a place and you turn the water back on to gain the trust of this guy, Maxis, Maxis is supposed to help you get into a thing with, we're glazing over story. Maxis is supposed to get you like an audience or something with
Diesel D, right?
Diesel D, or get you into the
Sneak you
arena,
into
get you into the arena pass to get you, because if you win the arena, you get a boon or something with Diesel D. Whole thing. Get to the other place called the dying place. There's two things here. This is where they call it. I think you can kill it too. As a patient zero here, which I guess is for where the miasma. But I don't remember what miasma is exactly to know why there is a patient zero for miasma. But there's a little enemy here called patient zero that you can kill.
Yeah.
This is also an achievement in this place where you push a wheelchair down an elevator.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I think just for funsies. I forget the exact thing, but yeah, I remember pushing because you can just walk past it, but you can push the wheelchair down the elevator.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
And then there's actually some kind of funny achievements. Like,
yeah,
you want to take a brief moment and maybe talk about some of those trophies and achievements. Like,
well, I kind of want to get to, because I'm nearing the end of my notes for the actual game here. So you do all that stuff. Eventually, you do get to you get back to get to the gauntlet. I wrote 5 rounds. I had no problems. I think I was just unloading the full can of whoop ass.
I do remember right there was a really cool thing because you get the ricochet gun and you're in the dead center of the room, and like I remember I think right here's where I got there's an achievement for killing somebody by ricocheting off a friend, and like I ended up I think you had to shoot one of your friends. But I shot like Diggs, and it bounced off Diggs, and then killed the enemy behind him. Or does it bounce off?
Speaking of achievement, was there an achievement for critting an enemy after bouncing it off a person?
Yeah, but I think it had to be off.
Bouncing off of Diggs. Only Diggs counts.
Because Dig had to become cover. You had to have that ability so Diggs could become cover. So
bounce off of him to kill somebody. It's really kind of funny.
Yeah, you had to set it up. I remember doing that. That was pretty cool.
That was fun.
But yeah, I do remember that. That was not the proving grounds, but like that arena setting. It remember being kind of hard just because there were so many people I had to like make sure I was moving my people, because you could have a perfect spot for one round, and the next round starts and all the enemies pour out from like behind you, and you're like, oh crap, and you got to reposition.
I remember. I wrote and had.
I don't know if I struggled, but I was worried at moments. But then also we're playing on Super Baby.
Super Baby Sissy mode.
So we had a pretty good time to get through.
Yeah. So that you win in the gauntlet, of course, gets you your audience. On the way to Diesel D is where you run into Jebediah, who is like stuck here, like working, I guess, for Diesel D. This dude has no relevance at this point. He joins your party here. I just wrote joins your party. I never used him.
Yeah,
and then
he's a copy of Diggs, but he can also shoot missiles. He can jump and shoot missiles.
Yeah, maybe cool.
He's just loud, and I'm like, I don't play loud.
You could have given him the assault rifle, because we forgot to mention at some point through all of this, we would have found a silenced assault rifle to give the Diggs. So your Elvis would have a silenced stun editor ability. She starts with the sniper rifle, and then obviously you give Diggs the silent assault rifle, and you're just like set to
you got 3 people that can do some silent stuff, and then at that point you're just like chef's kiss, just devastation on some mofos.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome. This leads to the Diesel D. The talking doesn't go very well. Obviously, he's a big mean robot. Leads to a big Diesel D boss fight, which is just working. This is not a non-stealth that triggers a boss fight. Yeah,
this fight,
you work through this room, killing all the other robots, working your way up to Diesel D.
Yeah, well, I think you can make it to Diesel D.
You trigger the fight right there on top of him.
On top of him, yeah.
But I think the room is non-combat.
It's non-combat.
There's other people you can talk to in the room that have other things going on.
Jokes and stuff like that. And then, but you can walk up to see, I had to do this because the fighting, it's kind of difficult. I do remember kind of struggling with that fight and like reloading my game and specifically splitting up my party and having 2 people go off to the left, having Jade and Diggs hide behind a pillar. I put Diggs behind a pillar that was, so we had line of sight to Diesel D, and I moved Jade up the staircase so she had like some oversight. She had some height advantage, and then I took Elvis and had him go up and activate Diesel D and then that triggered the fight, and they were already where they were hidden, so I was able to get some bonuses and stuff. Because I remember because he hit hard. Because you fight the fight, and you're immediately standing in front of Diesel with Elvis.
Yeah.
And so that made things a little difficult when you had your whole party right there. So I do remember reloading that fight to cheat. Because I'm not afraid to save scum.
No.
I am not afraid to save scum.
It exists for a reason. So doing with him whatever. I think you kill him, and then you get whatever you need to get into the factory.
Briefly, Mayor Jebediah Mason is voiced by Jim Gergich. He's only done 11 things, but most of them are like older things from like the late 80s and early 90s, and it was like a bunch of like westerns and war movies. Okay. But unfortunately, I don't really like westerns or war movies. None of them really jumped out to me as something I might have known, but he'd done 11 other things prior.
Okay, cool.
We forgot to mention that.
Oh yeah, we just didn't. And also for the rest of the game, he doesn't have any story relevance.
He's just no. He becomes relevant after this. Because you end up killing Diesel D, and you're like, no, we don't have the access code to get into the factory. And then he's like, I actually have them. I stole them.
That's like one minor thing.
But that allows you to trigger the final
the rest of the game. But but other than that, he has no
he's
relevance.
Just a skeevy, out for his own self.
So getting that, and this other guy, Maxis, who's the guy you had to run down earlier and get him to come back with you. I didn't mention because he's not a character. He's a story character for not doesn't join your party, but he's who helps you get into. He helps you with the Diesel D codes, whatever. Maxis helps you get into the factory.
Yeah.
What I wrote is you get to the factory, and Maxis gets killed immediately.
He's like he puts in the code to open the bridge and gets like sniped in the head and dies at the console.
Dies immediately.
Like it's like, oh man. And it's funny because it was supposed to be Mason. And like, give me those codes. We can't trust you. And so he puts in the codes instead of Mason putting in the codes, and he gets killed immediately by collectors hunting you down. I was like, oh, I hate it.
This place is full of collectors.
A lot, yeah. Collectors.
So we mentioned. I'm going to say who we didn't mention their name earlier. But the people running the factory and the big bad for the game
the originals
they're called the First Family.
Yeah,
that's important right now. I should have mentioned it's mentioned the whole game. Like the First Family did this. The First Family are the ones who send the collectors to collect. So the First Family are all about what you mentioned about the themes earlier. The First Family are the rich.
Yeah,
they're the ones. They think they're the most important in everything. But that's important because what you find out here in this place, the series of events, you figure out that Jade is First Family.
Well, you can't move forward without a biometric scan that matches. And so Mason didn't know that.
Yeah, he didn't know. So she able to go up to a door and get you in because she's like First Family royalty.
Mm-hmm. She's a member. She is the member of the First Family.
So she's the classic. I've had a princess. She's like the Garnet. You've had a princess with you or whatever the whole game.
Yeah, she's literally second in line.
Yeah.
Her brother's
like the blast boss, the big bad guy of the whole game. But she has no interest in going back. Everybody's kind of mad at her for a minute because she
lying about it.
Lying, but she doesn't like use it to betray them. She's like, hey, getting away because the First Family sucks. Yeah. So she's been getting away. They did force her to take on a immortality serum. That's why the First Family's been around for so long. They have concocted some immortality. I forget the story behind it, but I wrote that she has it. Like she was forced upon her, and they experimented on her and stuff like that. I think that's why she ran away.
That's also why she's slightly more deformed.
Oh, she's all jacked up too.
An augment.
But she's immortal. Apparently, I guess. Who knows how long she's been around? But the whole point of the First Family is they want to live forever with immortality.
Yeah.
Things move pretty rapidly here. Lots. This place is big. Lots of combat. Mostly you can stealth your way through this whole place. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Probably not my favorite place. It's a lot of collectors. It's all collectors, really, in a kind of industrial setting, kind of moving your way through rooms and stuff like that.
Yeah, speaking to your industrial setting, that's what I was going to say. Because as you progress through the game, you're like, in the start with Sedentary, you have like the swamp area, Gatorland, and it's like this, wetlands. You're outside, and it's like a mix of city,
forest, stuff like that. A lot of forest,
and then swamps. You go in, and you have like the abandoned literally concrete jungles where nature has taken back these buildings. Mm-hmm. And then you get to the robo cyberpunk, like the derelict where robots have taken over, and the robots are using their interior and exterior designing and just making things more like robotic and streamlined. Because like this is how it should be if robots ran things, because it needs to be this way. And then you get to the old world, and it's like real concrete jungle and dilapidated, but there's no nature. It's all just dilapidated buildings. And then you get to the industrial. It's like just the fall from nature to industry. It's like how you transition from the outskirts to the inner. Yeah. And it is a cool. It gets more boring as you go further, and you're like, oh, it's just like a spaceship.
This is a bunch of science labs and stuff like that. But you see other science places and hospitals and stuff like that. But as you get through here is where you run into the room full of Elvis clones. I forget, the guy explains this. So this is where you find out that not only is Balmati terrible, she also lied about
your origins.
His origins of who he was. I think so. He is the alpha editor.
He is the alpha editor.
But they took him.
They ended up killing. They did kill him,
and they kept cloning him, trying to reproduce trying to reproduce the alpha editor qualities, but they couldn't get it right.
Yeah,
they couldn't get it right, and I think when they finally got it right, Balmati was there.
No, it's messed up because they wanted to trigger another war because they felt the population was getting too uppity, and so they wanted to trigger a war to reduce the population. Mm-hmm. And so they gave the alpha editor to her to reignite the resistance. Like, she thought that they were going to reignite the resistance for something else, but then she turns out she was lied to as well. But yeah.
Sucks.
Yeah, so you're just like,
I wrote, so he isn't Jesus. Is my next thing.
You know, he's just the clone of Jesus.
Yeah, so he's not even the original alpha editor.
Humperdew. If anyone's seen a Preacher, he's Humperdew, but not as dumb.
So this is kind of crazy for a moment here, because we talk about people not leaving your party. He kind of has he kind of snaps here, and like runs off with the dude. Like the dude like explains it. What's her brother's name?
I have his name. Hold on, give me 5 seconds. His name is Quillian. No, hold on. Miasma, Hand Watchers, Mason, Diesel D. Where is this? It's right here. Where is it? Come on. Okay. Quindel Zen.
Yeah. So he's the one that kind of explains he tells you all this stuff, and it's apparently, I guess most of it's true. I'm guessing
it's 100% true. So he has no reason to lie.
Elvis kind of snaps and like goes with him to pursue. It's weird. I guess to like go embrace his destiny or something like that.
Because Elvis, he doesn't know what to do anymore because he literally
Balmati lied to him his entire life.
Yeah, he finds out that he's been lied to, and then he's been lied to, and then he's supposed to be this hero. And then his entire life is a lie.
Every bit of it.
He has a mental breakdown. He doesn't understand what to do. So he just goes, I'm just going to do what other people tell me to do. I can't. Yeah. So everything I think I'm doing for myself ends up being wrong. So someone else needs to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So it is sad.
It's crazy. This is for the first time in the game, he's not your party. I think it's not very long because you're at the end. I think there are a fight or two without him.
Yeah. You have to escape from the place. Go back to, I think, the DRC. It might have been
the only time I ever used Balmati.
Because you had to.
Because it was either use her or the other guy, and I think I gave her all his, because he leaves all his stuff. Mm-hmm. I think, and then you put it all on her, and then you just kind of use her to get. It's like 1 or 2 fights. It's like not a big thing, which eventually leads to. So I guess that's what place it's called. I guess you go through a place called Ground Zero, which leads to you. There's this teleporting machine that teleports you up into what they call Sky Platform Haru, which is where the last boss fight is. Which is the final boss fight is with that guy, Quindel Zen. He can't be hurt right away, right? What's he doing? He has like a shield or something. He can't be hurt right away. But
break those reactors in the room or whatever.
Something like that. He can't be hurt, but mainly the reason he can't be hurt is because Elvis is in the fight, and Elvis between turns, Elvis is talking like kind of not monologue. He's talking and kind of like working his way through. What's crazy?
His trauma.
What's crazy? 2 things about it is one. There's not a good time gap here to figure out how long Elvis was gone, because you kind of feel like
it's not like it's a month, but it's not.
You kind of feel like you kind of run to the next area. I kind of wish it was a part where you kind of left.
At the very least, it said like a month later or something.
But you run back into him. He's got a freaking new outfit, and he looks all cool and stuff.
Look really cool.
He has I guess it's like an alpha editor suit. I don't know what it is, but he looks cool. But he talks like he's been going through some stuff. I was like, dude, I was like, you found out 10 minutes ago. Let's relax. But I understand. So he's kind of mulling between turns. You're fighting or summoning collectors. The dude summoning
Well,
collectors.
there's different
You're
versions
fighting,
of the collectors. You're also fighting those wardens too. Those big, like tanky.
Yeah, I mean they drop pretty much as easy.
Yeah,
You got digs up there shotgunning fools. But anyway, as he's working through, I remember everything he says, but he's kind of like working through it, and eventually you just fight enough turns and fight enough collectors. I don't know how long it takes, and eventually he kind of gets through it, and then he kind of comes back with you, and then you turn the fight onto. I don't. Does he shoot? He shoots at you. Is he shooting at you, or is he just talking or moving? I think his character's just moving, and he's talking between turns. Is he shooting at you?
Well, he's up on like a pedestal or like on like
he's
a
moving
platform.
around the battlefield. I thought is he? I don't remember if he's
Elvis is attacking you.
Elvis is shooting at you.
He's shooting at you.
Yeah, I think you're shooting maybe at him too. I don't remember.
But you can't. If you kill him, it's game over.
Oh, that's right.
You remember that? Because I was like, oh, I guess we have to kill him. But if you kill him, it's game over. You have to like survive the fight and not kill him.
You pretty much want to kill him.
Like 4 or 5
stay out of his way and let him, because it's story. He's like literally every turn he moves, attacks, and then like says something. So you let him mull it over, and then eventually everything turns around, and you just like lay waste into this loser up here, and then the rest of the story kind of plays out. I don't remember kind of how it ends. Oh, I did write. I guess I did write something. I don't remember what happened. It says open ending leads to a sequel. Okay.
Yeah, they're like, well, I think they're like, well, we have a city, and you find out they're the first family. There are other families, taking over different parts of America, because you guys are just like in like the South. Because like I said, your game starts in Kentucky and kind of goes up, so you're like middle America.
Kind of where you are is not.
No, but like there's other families that have other quadrants and
of
sections of
the
this.
First
of
family
America.
just is over this one sector.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. So I wrote 46 out of the 51 achievements, which ain't bad. 29 hours. There was 2 difficulty achievements, which is why we didn't kind of like shoot for the 1K.
Yeah. I got 38 out of the 51. I bet there's some stuff that I meant to go back and get, and I didn't.
Why is yours so low?
Some of mine are, of course, I didn't meet every type of enemy. I didn't complete the codex. I didn't kill 4 enemies in the same turn with Overwatch. I did not kill 5 enemies with direct damage from a single shotgun blast. I did not steal 250 plastic during a combat.
What?
There's ones right here. I didn't kick a ball into a goal. I tried, and my game glitched, and like that ball flew out into the thing. Then there was I didn't counterpunch a counterpunch. I didn't set that up.
Oh, how'd you not do all that?
I didn't know they existed until later, and then I apparently I missed a side quest too. I didn't get all side quests. I don't know what happened.
What did I miss?
So there's just a couple of things that I didn't, because I was enjoying it. And I just forgot to go back and clean up.
Oh man, so I might go back. So the 3 difficulty achievements. I wrote 2 or 3. There's 2.
There's Alpha Editor, Full Tactical,
and then you beat the game with Alpha Editor. And so we said in the beginning, there's 2 difficulty things. So you got to beat the game with Alpha Editor with Full Tactical mode enabled, which I bet is pretty crazy. I also somehow missed. I didn't complete the codex, which I don't know how I missed that, and I didn't kill an enemy with fall damage.
I got that. Really? There's also a thing for cruelty. See, I swear to God, I got some of these achievements and they just didn't register, because I thought I remember getting shrink an enemy, burn them, and poison them all at the same time. So you have to hit somebody with the shrink gun.
Yeah, I did that. I mean, obviously I did everything but the one.
Oh, I think I tried to, but at the point in time where I realized I think I'd killed all the enemies and I couldn't go back and farm some of these. I think that was the other thing too, because some of the ones
there's a cutoff. There's like a.
Yeah.
Where you run out of.
Because I did get kill an enemy with fall damage, kill an enemy with the bouncer after bouncing it off a friend, push an enemy into a burning or acid area with a knockback grenade, set 3 enemies on fire with 1 Molotov, kill a mimic shadow having it with the character that it's mimicking. I got that. Then there's like because you do get costumes, different outfits throughout the game, and there's this part, it's like go to the Diesel D's dance club with different costumes on everybody.
Oh yeah,
that little thing.
Yeah, dang, I almost feel like I should get the 1K in this probably. I wonder why I didn't complete the codex. So that bothers me.
I mean, you may not have meant to, because if you may not have picked up something, or I don't know, after a certain point, you don't need money anymore either. So maybe I don't know. I love the game. I just didn't complete everything. Because that's also one of those things. I also knew I wasn't getting the 1K, so maybe I stopped trying so hard to try to get it. The game was super fun though. I loved almost every moment of it.
Oh, we forgot to mention. I'm screaming somebody's thing about how to do the hard difficulty, but I forgot that they said use use glass bottles to lure enemies away from groups. Forgot about doing that. You can throw glass bottles, and it'll literally pull them away because people will like walk in a thing together, and you can glass bottle. You have to target it just right, and they will walk away from that person, and then you just snipe them.
I forgot
I'm
about
glad
that.
I read that.
Yeah,
very cool.
Briefly, things to talk about real quick is just like the writer and the directors. Just kind of go really speak about them. The game director for Miasma Chronicles is a lady named Beth Park. She's done 6 things. 2 things that are of note, they're like the biggest things, is there's a game called I Am Fish, which I think is on Game Pass. I've seen the name. She was the game director for that. Mm-hmm. And she also directed a movie called Wild Animals. Had a pretty high rating on IMDb.
Pretty cool.
Then there's the voice director, which is Camilla Thomas, also done 6 things. But the only thing of hers that I had noticed was it was a GameFly episode a long time ago. I could not find it. I couldn't track it down. But she did Jagged Alliance 3. She was the voice director for that.
Yeah, I think we GameFlyed one time and just didn't.
It was a tactical game, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah, it just didn't click. Yeah.
And then the writer, a gentleman named John Zerhelen, he's done 24 things. Some of the things he's wrote were Payday 2, Manhunt 2, a random job was pedestrian dialogue for GTA, but that's GTA San Andreas, Liberty City Stories, and GTA 4.
Somebody's got to write that stuff.
He wrote the pedestrian dialogue in all 3 of those games.
I think somebody's got to write it.
And then he wrote this game, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
My total gameplay time for Miasma Chronicles was it's crazy how we do this, but it was over the course of 11 days, of September 11th through September 22nd of 2023, so almost a year ago now. Mm-hmm. And it was for almost 31 hours, 30 hours and 50 minutes.
Our time's almost never that close.
What's yours?
29.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, usually I have like 10 hours faster than anything we do.
That's something, but yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's a cool game, man.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah, I could talk about it more, but I just without like the visual aspects and stuff like that of like really,
it's just so fun to play.
And the customization, like, because we specifically built, because I said earlier you can freely reassign your skill points and stuff like that, but I specifically wanted to do the stealthy path. Mm-hmm. Just because I felt it was more fun. Mm-hmm. Like, you can go and activate everybody, have all the enemies run at you, and get the fighting done quicker, maybe. But I just felt it was more fun to just nitpick, have all three of your people, just eat your way up the combat, and that felt more fun to me.
Yeah, so good.
Oh yeah, so good.
Rating? You got your rating?
Yeah, I do. Do you have anything you want to add to it first before we get to those? Or
no. Yeah, I really enjoyed this game. I hope they do a sequel. You said before you look, they're mostly working on getting the game.
Well, because the game's not even a year. Well, it's barely a year old.
So they're still kind of patching up the PS5 version, mm-hmm. basically.
I don't remember when I see their work.
I think I had a hard crash somewhere. I feel like I had a hard crash, like one hard crash somewhere. Mm-hmm. Maybe I feel like I did that somewhere. But other than that, the game looks great, plays great. The story, like I say, based off what my rating was earlier. We talked about it too. Why wasn't it this? I think because the story's okay.
It's okay.
The writing, the story's it's kind of unique, kind of cool. Actually, God, is it better than average sometimes for a game like this? The game is just really good all around. So with all that, I'll give my little ratings are just for fun. We're not game reviewers or anything like that. We do give silly little ratings.
To bribe me, I will take a bribe to give your game a good rating.
We're not doing that. That's awful.
That's the way the world works.
So with that said, I will give this game 9 times I wanted to sound cool out of 10. I'm not sure. Blake said earlier off podcast why it's not a 10. I don't know. Maybe it could be closer to a 10 for me because I really enjoyed this game. Maybe if the story really wowed me or something like that. The game's not as close to being nearly perfect. It's so fun.
Yeah. It's just some of the characters and stuff like that. The fact that it was dark when it wanted to be dark, and there wasn't like, oh, it's a rainbow. People were dark, and your character was genuinely traumatized like 3 times throughout the game. Like he was just like, oh man, like, oh boy, I need to sit down and take a breather. But like it's The good news is they don't treat you like you're dumb. Like, you obviously see some of the twists coming and this, that, and the other, like with Jade and stuff. She's like, I don't want to go. And she like does some stuff and like makes sure she's not around when certain things happen. But I will give it 9 stealthy combos out of 10. Because it's just, the story is just a little, and some of the jokes are a little dated, I guess, too. Not maybe dated. Just some of it, like, I don't know. Some of the humor was also a little like, oh, yeah, they were trying too hard to be funny and it wasn't funny. You're like, I see what you're doing there. You look like you're having fun. It's kind of like, yeah. But like, like I said, some moments were out of nowhere, like that great line with like life science. I don't know how to do that. I just wanted to sound cool. It was just genuinely out of nowhere and was like very good writing. I just wish that more of the writing was like that.
And that's voice actor delivery too.
Yeah,
delivery was on point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But 9 stealthy combats out of 10.
Very cool.
Randomly, I'm looking just because I have TA up and stuff like that right now. The game normally runs for $50, but who knows when let's do this check. It's on sale right now for $20.
Yeah, worth every bit of $20.
For $20, hands
down. It was GameFly for us. It's one of our GameFly gems. Every now and then, GameFly you'll land on something like this was awesome. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
for sure.
Ready for our next game?
Yeah, you can announce the next game.
Yeah, we're on the next
Speaking
game.
of GameFly gems.
GameFly gems, yeah, a year apart, like you said. Mm-hmm. Another game we knew nothing about. Coming on GameFly. I know nothing about it. I looked at a little bit of gameplay and I was like, oh, this is a game for Blake. I'm not gonna play this. This looks like right up Blake's alley. I don't touch, quote unquote, sort of tactical.
Except for this.
Well, this was different kind of tactical.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really play tactical games, but but anyway, the point is, looking at the gameplay at a passing glance, I was like, oh, this is for Blake. So Blake played it and he was like, nah, man, this is pretty cool. I think you should give it a shot. It's like pretty neat. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot. Ended up really enjoying it too. Probably this and Miasma aren't comparable. They're two entirely different games. Like another game with really fun writing. We'll talk about on the podcast. Really cool lore and like that. It's an ongoing franchise apparently, but like we'll get into that. Like it's never developed by the same person twice. Really crazy. I hope Blake can get into the history of that.
I'll try.
Completely unknown game, kind of like Miasma Chronicles. Completely unknown. This game is not, like you've probably never heard of this game when we say it. I think the game suffers from lackluster name syndrome.
Lame name syndrome.
Lame name syndrome. The name is meaningless. It's crazy. But the next game we're going to be talking about is the dark fantasy tactical turn-based RPG. We're doing 2 turn-based games in a row, completely different. They play completely differently. Is a game called Disciples: Liberation. Yeah, that name, generic. Apparently, it's the fourth Disciples game. They are loosely related. I think apparently some of the characters you hear about in this game are from previous games. But like Blake will get into another thing, the history of it. I think every Disciples game, the first 3 are all PC only. Mm-hmm. They're all different developer every single time. It's like a flailing franchise that's somehow still around. Turned out to be a pretty cool game. But we'll get more into that when that podcast comes around. So we'll wrap this thing up. I want to thank Jared and the guys of Emerge for letting us use the song Letting Go for our podcast intro. Like I always say, sometimes it's the best part of the podcast. Maybe this podcast was pretty good. I feel the podcasts are better sometimes when we really enjoy a game.
Yeah. We
talk more about it. You kind of see the love of a game come through. Sometimes it sounds like we don't like video games. The thing about the real world is I probably dislike more games than I do like because that's just the way the world.
Expect more out of them.
I don't know. I'm super picky sometimes, and a lot of games suck. Not the point. The point is letting go. Sometimes the best part of the podcast. Maybe this podcast was good because we enjoyed the game. It's a really great game too. Mm-hmm. I want to thank Milad Markovic, aka Devious.Pixel, for the art for this podcast and all the art he's gave us over the history of this podcast and art for our other podcasts and all that fun stuff. He's a great guy. Episode 70, we had an interview with him. Mm-hmm. If you want to talk to him about art and video games and stuff like that, it's really cool. And I always want to thank Brian for taking the time out of his life. Instead of playing video games, editing a podcast about playing video games. I know it sucks sometimes, but it's there. But we're going to play some games with him too. And we had the last episode, Brian was on that when we talked about Anthem.
We talked about Anthem.
We talked about BioWare's Anthem. We actually played the entire story of Anthem. So roll back one episode if you want to hear us talk about our experience with Anthem. Well, that's all I got. So I'll leave Blake with his little things, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up.
A little bit of self-promotion on my part is we have a brother podcast called Suspension of Disbelief. It is a movie podcast that spawned from this one, where me and our good buddy Steve take turns semi-surprising one another with movies each episode, and we do not discuss it at all, text, phone, whatever, until we record the podcast. So it's our first time talking about it, so that each other's opinions doesn't influence the others. And so we kind of just go through and talk about it. Sometimes we have very mirroring opinions. Sometimes we have very similar opinions. I like it a little better when they clash, just because it creates a little friction between us. But
not like arguing, but like sometimes you are surprised on who likes a certain part of something. Like he'll be like, Steve, like, you actually like that? And you're like, yeah, I guess.
You're like, oh, whatever. But there's that. Please come join us. We'll be recording one later this week.
Well, the timestamp and stuff doesn't matter. Yeah.
And I have a self-published short story on Amazon called "They Come This Night." It's just a short story. I guess what else can you describe a short story as? It is free for those who have Kindle Unlimited. If you don't have Kindle Unlimited, it's just a $1, just 99 cents. Please feel free to go check that out, rate it. I need affection and attention constantly, otherwise I'll just wither and die. But that about covers it for my self-promotion. Selfless, not selfish, because it's selfless, because I don't want to do this. I have anxiety right now. But with that being said, I do want to wish everybody a good evening and good night.